We constantly ask our staff here, our coworkers, if you have any good stories, if you see anything that's out there that's interesting, tell us. And so Joe Bautiste is one of our sales reps, and he says to me, "Hey Dave, I got the great story." You know, like I can't
Nice
give you a call, yeah. But he goes, "I've got this story," and so he explains this to me.
Yeah.
And after 10 seconds, I said, "Stop. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Get me Paul, get his number, get the information out." So Paul Slusher joins us in studio this morning. How are you this morning?
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
CEO of contactsforless.ca.
That's correct.
Okay, so before anyone thinks this is me fluffing your pillows for a half an hour,
Right.
which it isn't. I mean, you know what? We'll talk about it because it's great. It's a great program. Contacts for Less is it's pretty much self-explanatory. You're going to try and get people contacts for less, but it's not just about that. So before you tell us what the payoff is for us, tell us about the genesis of what Contacts for Less was and how you got into this business.
You mean how we got the idea started?
You bet.
Well, there's a lot of aspects to this. Obviously, things are going online. I knew this. We have a store in New Westminster called Lifetime Eye Care. It was an optometry practice, so we thought, obviously we have competition on all fronts. But then there was a moment. I went into a Safeway, and they said, "Would you like to donate $1 to the blah, blah, blah fund?" And I felt guilty. I felt there's 5 people behind me in line. I'm thinking, okay, I don't even know this fund. I have no idea what this fund goes to. I have no clue. And do I say no? I look like a jerk if I say yes. And I gave the $1, and I walked out and I thought, wait a minute. They didn't take my money. They took my money, not their own money. And then they took it and they're going to go write a tax write-off with this. And I thought, wait a minute. And they guilt tripped me. So I thought, this is not the way I want to do this. So I started talking to my wife about it. And we looked at the idea of online contact lens sales. And I said, let's do something a little radical. Let's shake up the market, and let's try to do something that focuses differently than other companies. And pretty much every product you're wearing, every product you see, they're trying to make money. They're trying to make millions of dollars. That's their whole purpose.
Yeah.
We thought, well, let's do something very different. The planet needs help. People are starving. Children are dying. Wars are happening. Ecosystems are being destroyed, et cetera, and so on. So let's make a company's focus where more than half of our energy, more than half of our effort goes to giving in some way. So that was the very beginning of the process. And then I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. I said, well, let's do half. And I was, let's do more than half. Let's do 51%. Then we can give more if we want, but 51 will be the minimum we'll give out of every transaction net from our net profit. Yeah, and it was a very, we first thought about it. My wife said, how are we ever going to make money? How's this ever going to be sustainable? But when you look at the way market changes and the way people operate now, you've got Choices and Whole Foods and Tom's Shoes and Ben & Jerry's, all these different products that basically give back or focus on community, focus on giving as a part of what they do. I thought, really, that's where the market's headed. 20 years from now, it'll be very interesting to see if not every store has some social aspect to what they do. I think customers are demanding it. They see how bad things are. So I thought, really, we're maybe a bit ahead of the curve, but let's make this structure. This was 3 or 4 years ago when we started building, and we had no money. We had no investors. We had no VCs or no one there to back us. So we just took small, tiny bits of money from our optometry practice and just slowly fed it into this project. It took quite a long time. I developed a lot of the designs myself. I have some other people came on. And now here we are, 2017. We have contactsforless.ca up and running nationally. We're becoming quite big in certain pockets of the country. Montreal, Quebec we're very popular in Quebec, Toronto. Vancouver coming in slowly, but we're getting there. And we're seeing growth at a very high level. 2015, we grew by over 1,500%.
Wow.
2016 by 315%. And this year, we don't even know. It could be 700%, 1,000%.
Now, from a sentimentality point of view, it's a great cause. It's a noble cause, and I applaud you for putting this together. At the same time, as they say on the Dragon's Den, what are your numbers like? How you doing? Because that's the bottom line is that this is great. It's a great idea, but are you making ends meet? Number one. Number two, are charities benefiting from what you're doing? And I'm going to say that the answer is probably yes, but tell me what you're doing.
That's an exceptional question. Now, first of all, when I first started this idea, I was aware of the fact that this could take years to get to the point where economic sustainability on all fronts. Now, when I say economic sustainability, we know that giving away money was going to be the number one priority. So we knew that, for example, I haven't gotten paid much at all until literally this year. Actually, nothing until this year. I didn't pay myself. My wife didn't get paid. Our staff gets paid. And we, you got to take care of your people.
Right.
If you're going to be a company that gives back, your first responsibility actually is, before the planet, is the people that you employ that work hard for you. So my staff's treated very well. And hello to Val and Emo. They are an amazing team, and I've got some other people who work for me, but these are my 2 stalwarts, and we make sure they're taken care of. But in terms of the actual growth of the company, we know that we have to get to the point where a certain volume has to occur. This is the year we're seeing that. We're seeing that. Now, nonprofits, the first 2 years, we really only gave around $3,000 a year to different nonprofits. Now, considering I wasn't paying myself a dime, it really became a charity for the first 2 years. But the idea is that once we get to a certain volume point, it's called the tipping point. You probably, heard that term. A tipping point is when you move from a certain place in your development to another place. That next place is where we are now. In just the last few months, we've seen days where we've done record numbers of sales. We're getting 5 to 10, 15 emails a week, sometimes more. People saying, I love this idea. Literally, here's a quote, a very typical quote. I found you guys on Facebook, which is where a lot of people find us. I couldn't believe there was a company like this. I bought one time and I was like, whoa, I'm not going anywhere else again. That's it, I'm done. So we know that it's an attritional issue. It's just going to accumulate to the point where we know that the margins, those tiny margins per order, are going to accumulate and will be sustainable in the long term. But you're right. We're still a lot of growing left to do. That's why we're here today.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Paul Slusher joins us, CEO of contactsforless.ca, and I want to make it clear, and I want to give you the opportunity to make it clear to people that just because you're getting contacts for less doesn't mean that the quality isn't there. So, so you're providing people the quality of product there, because that, you know what? Again, the nobility of the project aside, if the product isn't there, if the quality's not there, or the follow-up, or the fulfillment from the customer's not there, you're not going to get a repeat business, and it's going to fall flat anyway. So,
very, very good point. Okay, so first of all, people who buy contacts online know generally that there are mainly only 4 manufacturers. And we don't make our own cheap product like there are people out there doing that, and we're not importing them from the Philippines or India, where who knows if the quality is there, because that's really where you see a lot of issues with contact lenses online. Right. And there are sellers doing it. I mean, there are some, I won't mention them, of course, and I'll have a lawsuit tomorrow, but there are ones doing it, and we know about them, and so do the manufacturers. No, we're above board all the way. We have individual contracts with each of the manufacturers, and we only sell their newest products. So we don't do any off-selling, expired selling, none of that. But I think the other thing that I really want people to understand is this isn't like the grocery store, where we decide where that money goes, and this is about, the money part is all important, but I think from a customer's viewpoint, the thing they care about, as you were saying, is, am I getting the best product, which is, if you wear J&J, an AccuView product, or an Air Optics product, that's what you're going to get with us. We have toll-free number and amazing staff that will help you. If we screw up, we're going to make sure you're taken care of. All of that stuff's in place. But the best part about this is that we're not taking your money to do this project. You're just buying exactly like you would any other company. Yeah. The difference is we give our money, and a lot of it. And we also, more than that, on Facebook, if you go to Facebook, Contacts for Less, it's /Contacts for Less, you will see that 99 out of 100 posts are about children suffering someplace on the planet, child trafficking, the destruction of ecosystems. We don't promote our product very little, do we? I mean, we spend more time talking about issues than selling. The idea being is this: 10 to 20, maybe 30, maybe as much as 40% of the market cares very strongly about saving the planet. That's why they buy organics. That's why they go to Whole Foods, etc. Our belief is that they're going to come across us one way or another and say, oh, wow, I didn't come across because they went, hey, buy my product. Hey, flash, flash, bang, bang. I came across them because they were legitimate, because I cared. And now I'm connected to them for good. And they're not a charity. They're a sustainable company. Let me make one more quick point. One of the things that frustrates me about charities is that charities beg from the same people over and over and over again, right? I mean, if you sign up with one organization, they're going to send you 5 mailers a year and beg you to give them money constantly, which is fair, because that's how are they going to get their stuff done, right?
That's their business model, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah, but with us, it's very different. You're a consumer, so you're just like buying from Walmart or Safeway or whatever. It's exactly the same process for you. The difference being that on the back end, we're taking our money and giving it away.
I love this. Like, this idea to me is fabulous. I wish more businesses would do this, because if I knew more businesses were doing what you were doing, I would put my money to those companies, because like you said, as long as the quality is good, what's the difference? You're actually making a difference. So for me, this is very exciting. I wish more companies would do this. Maybe in the future they will.
And that's one of the reasons why
Right?
we did it, was because it puts pressure. I mean, if I were the owner of one of the other big, mega, huge corporations that makes $12 million a year in profit, and I hear about this little startup over here and coming out of New Westminster, which is where we're based right now. We're coming to Surrey, by the way.
Oh,
soon.
nice.
We're going to move this year.
You bet you are.
Yeah, we are.
Big
well, I'm
warehouse.
personally moving to Surrey, actually. I like New West, though. Don't get me wrong.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
we got to move our operations. But you know, if I heard about that, and I was a big, huge corporation, I'd say, first I'd think, they're not going anywhere. And as soon as I found out they're getting somewhere, I'd go, okay, now what do we do if these guys get big? Because what am I going to do? Am I going to start giving away 10, 20, 30% of my profits when I got investors and I got shareholders? And, you know, what is this? Oh, my God. So the first thing I'd want to do is go buy these guys out, you know, which we won't do. That's not who we are. So when they come knocking and offering big dollar to just shut us up, ain't going to happen. So that's, by the way, this is that call to them.
Let's hold this thought right now. Let's go back to traffic. When we come back, we'll talk to more about this with Paul. Paul Slusher, our guest, CEO, contactsforless.ca. We're talking about his business model, but also where do you donate to? We'll talk about that next. We'll say, hey, if I want to donate somewhere that you're not donating to, can I donate there? We'll get all that information from Paul next. It is, again, Paul's the Fraser, Dave and Leah. Traffic right now, Leah Alive. Paul Slusher, our guest this morning, CEO, contactsforless.ca. You said never say never when it comes to someone giving you a call and saying, I want to shut you up and shut down your business. And then you said to Leah, however, I do get one phone call from this guy. I'll take the phone call. Who would that be?
Jeff Bezos from Amazon. In fact, if he's listening.
Okay, say it
Jeff,
again. I had your mic down.
Oh,
Who?
that's all right. Jeff Bezos from Amazon. One of the reasons why he's one of those few players that he's, you know, you just heard the other day, he's the richest man in the world now. Have you heard about that?
It keeps going back and forth every day.
Oh, was
his,
he?
his stock went up, he was ahead. His stock went down, he's behind.
Boy, that's a few
Yeah.
days,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I know, it's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, either way, he's the kind of guy who, in there's a few guys at the top. Warren Buffett's another one who has a bit of a heart. But I think Bezos is a very unique guy in the sense that he's a multi-billionaire. He owns 17% of Amazon. He's the kind of guy that could step in, take a small company like ours, and keep it true. Because he believes in a lot of these things. He's out of Seattle. I'm originally born and raised in Seattle, and there's a very progressive community out of Seattle. I come from that market. Now I'm a dual citizen. I live in Canada. I love Canada. I'm not going anywhere. I love this place. But I will say this: he's the kind of guy that if he came knocking, I'd say, look, if you keep the issue, keep it together, keep the idea of what we meant to do proper. In fact, maybe let me keep running it. Just help us build this thing.
Well, that would be the only thing that you can keep faith on that, okay? And no disrespect to Mr. Bezos. He is a businessman first and foremost, though,
Yes,
and
he
you
is.
have to look at it from that standpoint. So to talk about keeping your vision true, part of that would be still having an association with that vision, at least in my humble opinion. I think that you'd have to be a part of that.
I think also, too, there's a certain amount of, if you want to just be really blunt about it, I'm the founder. So if you remove the founder, and we were the very first in the world to do this, by the way. Nobody in the world has ever done what we're doing, really. There's been companies that give away money, but nobody's done what we're doing. In the checkout process, you get to pick the group. You know, this is unusual.
Yeah.
If you get rid of me, the founder, and you get rid of that first status, you kind of lose that gleam of that. When somebody comes along and says, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, you were the first to do that. Oh, wow. And you innovated this. I think that's what makes that appealing as an acquisition to another company. But again, like I said, you know, my first goal isn't money. We're not here to do this for millions. Of course, I want to, you know, feed my daughter and my wife and have a home and live nice and, you know what I mean? I want to have a life, but I'm not about to sell out my ideals for the money. So.
From our conversation, Paul, you've talked about doing things with various charities around the world that you know, whether it be Doctors Without Borders or whoever it might be.
Yep.
There are some of us, like myself, that want to help internally, that want to help here in BC, that want to help, like, for example, my son's autistic. So to go help people of special needs in this community. Can I do that too? Like, well, I mean, what do I do? I mean,
It's
how
funny,
do I do
I
it?
just got a little goosebumps when you said that, because actually the day before yesterday, I came across an autistic nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to myself, we haven't touched this area yet. Now, we haven't had anybody request it yet, but I'll tell you, out of this group, so we have 53 groups on the site.
Okay.
I think the last 6 that have been added have been suggestions from customers. We have a suicide prevention group that's brand new. That's going to be the group of the month in September. We have a group of the month each.
Oh, does it change every month?
Every
then?
month we make a default group. Let me
Okay.
explain. So when you do the checkout process, normally right in the checkout, you check your shipping and all these things. One of the things we check with us is who do you want the money to go to?
Oh, that's great.
Right, but the default is set each month because
Okay.
we promote a story every month. So we
Yeah.
make videos on YouTube and Facebook about these topics. So for example, right now we're doing population connection. It's all about overpopulation on the planet. We're focusing very heavily on that topic. Next month is a prison society, a prison justice group, which focuses on dealing with prisoners coming back out into society and trying to get them reoriented. This is a huge social cost. to
Second
us.
chance
big,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, recidivism is a massive social cost. I mean, if you want to talk about just economics, that's a huge cost to us socially and economically. So we're constantly moving the ball. But I think in terms of autism, this is a big one. I have a little girl, and in the very early part of her life, there was a little bit of behavior where we were a little concerned, very early signs, and we got very nervous. So I can, and the amount of emotional, I don't know, when you first discovered it, I presume, it was quite intense. And to think, oh my God, is there a group out there that is working on this? Or is there a group supporting this? So this hit me the other day. So this is something
Well, and again, from my point of view, I want to see results of what I give. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I as much as people want to say, I want to put this towards research don't feed the dog anymore. You know what I mean? I
True.
mean, there's been research now for 20 years on autism.
Yeah.
I think you better have a handle on what's going on at this point. That's just me being a dad of an autistic son.
absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to me, if I'm going to donate to somebody, it's going to be to get results for autistic people, not just, well, let's throw some more research in and see if we can't find out what we can find out. It's like,
Right.
you should be soup to nuts right now.
Right. And I think that's a very interesting point because the hardest part for me when I thought maybe there might be some of that going on here was how am I going to emotionally deal with this and how am I going to be as a parent in this process? There wasn't a lot there for me. I was Googling it, but you know what I mean? So I get what you mean in terms of having a nonprofit that can do more than just research, but actually focus on families, focus on the real life reality of this situation, and try to even perhaps funding support in schools and other environments where they can function.
Well, and part of what your mantle has to be as well is how do you vet these charities? I mean, that's a huge issue because
It is.
you want to know that this money is getting spent properly, that research is being done right. I mean, everyone. You know what? You could find you can go online right now and find 150, 200 different charities that could have the sob story of all sob stories, or not for that matter, the crusade of all crusades.
Yes.
Something that resonates with you.
Yes.
Everyone can tell a great story, but it's how you execute that story that's a different thing here, and that's got to be a big burden for you guys as well.
And this is an excellent, I'm so glad you brought this topic up because it's something that we battled with in the beginning of the development of this project. And right away, International Red Cross, you may or may not have heard about this story. And after the big, huge hurricane hit Haiti and devastated it, International Red Cross went in with massive funding because people donated. Well, there was a huge controversy around International Red Cross because they were given something like the equivalent of $180 million to work in Haiti, and I heard there was some research that came out that they only did a handful of homes. There was a massive ripoff. Now, International Red Cross probably does great work all over the place, but when that came back to us, we battled inside. We had a vote among the staff, do we keep them or dump them? And we kept them for a while until some people wrote in and said, how can you keep these guys on here?
Yeah.
We researched a little further and said, nope, they're out, and we yanked them. Now, it was a tough call because there is other things they do, but we have, Doctors Without Borders. We have other groups that do a lot of similar work. It's really heavy-duty work we know are good. But to your point about how do we vet, here's what we do. There are several sites that actually check the finances, the books of these groups heavily. And what they do is they look at how much administration versus how much on the ground. And we're very careful to not do these 80% admin type groups. As soon as we see a group that's got 85% of their admin costs as admin, we're out.
Yeah.
We don't have a number because each group is different and have different missions, but we focus very heavily on making sure they're good to go. And we constantly screen them. When we get a new group, somebody will request, for example, we got a new one, this Justice Society one. My first instinct was, okay, now this is prison justice stuff. I don't know if this is the right area for us. Should we be there? So we looked really heavily at it. But the more we looked at it, we realized there was a real civil rights and human rights component to what they were doing. And we realized they had almost no admin budget. So we thought, well, this is a group we can support because
No
people
kidding.
coming out of prison, who's the most disoriented on the planet other than a newborn baby? It's a
Yeah.
guy coming out of prison.
No, and I like the fact that you do the vetting, but at the same time, you're asking people to donate their money to the cause that they are most interested in.
Right.
They have
So
a choice.
it falls back on them as well.
Yep.
Like, as much as they might give you a hard time about saying, Paul, what the hell with the International Red Cross? Look,
Yep.
there might be families that were benefited by the International Red Cross that might have that. It's on them to do that. So if they want, hey, Paul, I'm taking my money that you told me that I'm going to donate. I'm going to donate it to blankly blank blank. You're going to go,
That's right.
well, okay. But if
right.
that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. And,
Yep.
and that's what you're trying to offer here, is that it's not, we're not here to judge who you donate your money to.
Right.
We're here to make sure that the money that you do donate goes towards something, or we're trying to steer you into the direction of where you get most bang for the buck on donating to that type of charity. Is that correct?
That's correct. And okay, so I heard you earlier, as I was driving in, you were talking to somebody from the BC Liberals.
Correct.
And I heard that interview. And I thought to myself, this is really non-political in a lot of ways. Let me explain. There are some groups that are very intense on one side, like PETA or Greenpeace. People get very reactionary when they hear PETA, for example.
Yeah.
PETA, what? But there's also Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There's also localized groups out of BC. There's First Nation support groups. One of the most popular groups we have are those localized groups. So yeah, in any case, yeah, it's honestly, this is not something that's left or right. This is about humanity and saving the planet.
And I was going to say, too, to the fact that, like you said, some of them are local charities. It doesn't have to be big charities, right? So that you
That's right.
actually have people local in BC. So I think that's great.
Paul, last 30 seconds here, real quick. Where do I go? What do I do?
Contactsforless.ca. Contactsforless.ca. You go in, you buy your contacts, and at the back end of it, you'll see it on the cart. It's really simplified.
Great conversation. We'll do it again because there's a lot more to talk about.
Next time I come, we'll talk about specific issues even.
You got it. All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul Slusher from, again, CEO of contactsforless.ca. We'll take a break, come back. 8:30 news update with Leah is next, and we'll talk to Linda Hepner as well, the mayor of Surrey. She comes up next as well. Take care.